What's up, everybody? Welcome to another segment of Market Masters. Well, before we started recording this segment, Kirk started sharing a bunch of really incredible and interesting things, one having to do with DeepSeek, this Chinese AI that has some tech stocks plunging in the US over the past few days, and a whole lot of news about silver with weird things that are going on. So, Kirk, if you want to take it where we kind of started, give us some points that we should be aware of about that, the economy, and then we could dive into silver. That would be awesome.
Oh my goodness. So, a lot of squirrely things happening right now. So, I bet you, most of your viewers last Friday had never heard of DeepSeek.
Never.
I didn't. I didn't either. Right. And all of a sudden, they released this AI chatbot. It's basically like Chat GPT, OpenAI, that kind of a thing. And you've got all these companies like Google has, Google has Gemini. Um, there's Llama, and
Yeah.
then you've got the Amazon stuff, which is even weirder. So normal AI bots. Just to explain it a little bit. This new one uses like deep language, meaning um, figure if you just type in a few words, cat, dog, something else, right? It's just very simple things, and it'll kind of start to come up with a storyline or whatever you want it to do.
Okay.
This one uses almost like modern language, deep language, and it's very robust. But NVIDIA, so NVIDIA, the chip manufacturer that's been basically the foundation of AI
They've
infrastructure.
been taking over like
Oh,
everything worth over $3 trillion in a short period of
three, not anymore, but yes, 3 trillion. Largest, practically market cap share stock in the world. It's been the baby. But this is what happens when people get hyper fixated on one thing, and it's going to be the industry that changes all industries, right? And that was the poster child of a company. Well, now what? So they have these $40,000, chip processing units that, I mean, that's how much they are. And companies are spending billions of dollars on these things. Well, what DeepSeek figured out, it's actually kind of really good technology, is you don't need a processing unit that can do 1.8 trillion type things when theirs does like 63 billion. I mean, it's way less. Well, it's like, how could that be better? Well, they've compartmentalized it into, rather than having one big brain that just searches everything for everything, it's like if you ask a question about legal stuff, it only opens up that block. If you ask a question about health, it only opens up that block. So you don't need the massive processing power, and it's
Very
quick.
cool.
And yeah, I mean, it is cool. So companies now are thinking, oh, AI is the wave of the future, right? And we don't have to spend all these billions of dollars to do it, like what Trump was talking about with Ellison and some of the others. It's like, well, we're going to invest $500 billion into AI infrastructure. Well, this company spent evidently $10 million to build this, and they've realized it works. So here's a couple problems with all of this. Number one, all these chip manufacturers, AMD, whoever makes the chips for these processing units and NVIDIA, they all came crashing down yesterday. Like literally the biggest market sell-off since the Japanese yen carry trade
Wow.
imploded. And prior to that, you had 2009, bigger than that. Prior to that, you saw tech stocks in 2000 lose like 80% over a couple month span. Now, we didn't lose 80%, but dollar wise, it was the largest market cap loss for a single company in the history of stock markets, right? So is this a one day thing, or is it going to have
That's what I
legs?
was going to ask. Is it
Yeah,
something that's short-lived? Is it something that you believe is long-term?
I believe it's going to be more long term because what they just did is they upset the apple cart with technology. And so here's where companies are going to say, "Hey, we want to embrace AI. We want to lower our bottom line, right? We're going to spend less." So they're excited about it. Who's not excited about it is people invested into these companies. But here's the bigger concern to me. In December, within a 3-day span, the company that owns TikTok released their AI,
Okay.
generator machine. You've got this one, DeepSeek, and then there was another one that was released all within 3 days. Now, how did they just come up out of the blue all of a sudden? Right. So to me, the timing is really mysterious. And I think it has to do, just my opinion, just trying to connect the dots here. It has to do with Trump's tariffs, right? So it's retaliatory of the Chinese saying, okay, you're going to slap tariffs on us of upwards of 60%. How could we counteract that? China could do, they still own $1 trillion of US treasuries. They could dump those things on the open market, which would destroy the dollar, and then it would cause more inflation, and they could do that. But that sort of shoots themselves in the foot because they still own these things. They can't really trash something while they still own it, or they're going to have to sell it at a lower price,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yep.
So they can still do that because their end goal, I think, is to de-dollarize the world, and they might be willing to take a loss to be the kingpin. Or they could start to dismantle US banks, right? Which is what I think was happening with silver, because the big, large money, international money center banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, HSBC, have mountains of short positions. So if you can kind of get rid of a lot of the supply of silver,
Yep.
and then these banks,
Meaning,
if
meaning
there's little supply,
China getting rid of it.
yeah, in cahoots with Russia, because Russia added silver as a strategic reserve to the ruble.
Yeah.
So there's not an awful lot of silver. It's not like the gold market, which seems to be very plentiful. Silver used for manufacturing industrial purposes, it's very limited supply. So it doesn't take very much to eliminate the supply. When you have low supply, high demand, prices go up.
Yep.
When you're a bank and you have short positions and the price goes up, you lose money in multiples, not dollar for dollar, but leveraged. And so that could destroy the banks. So if I'm China and I say, I want to de-dollarize the world and I want to erode confidence in the US economy from people, they erode confidence in the banks or in the US dollar. Those are two ways to do it. Or now this,
You
right?
know,
Absolutely.
interestingly enough, I've been tracking silver just to see it, over the past couple of weeks. It's been pretty stable. Even with Trump
Hmm.
coming in, it's been pretty stable. There were a lot of people that thought when Trump was coming in, you got to sell the silver because it's going to go down because of all these reasons. And you were right. You said, no, it's not going to go down. It's going to maintain and go up over time as well. And that's exactly what it did. It's been between 30, 31, kind of around
Yeah.
those ranges. Now, how do you explain, and I know you explained it in the past, but now that we're in it, Trump came in 8 days ago, right? We're
Hmm.
officially in that new administration, which is crazy to me. I never thought we would actually be here, but we are. How do you see now when it comes to silver? Because a lot of people were thinking, you know, if there's this uncertainty in the economy, if there's uncertainty in the future, then it's going to be volatile and it's definitely going to go up. But now there are a lot more people that have a lot more certainty and it's not going down.
Yeah.
So what is it that's going on here?
So two competing factors, which is why you've seen a stabilizing. One of them is very an attack to get silver to come down in price, and manipulation that we've seen for decades,
Yep.
and that's the big banks shorting, right? When because I think the big banks are in cahoots with the Department of Defense, the energy complex, the military industrial complex, where they all need massive amounts of silver. So if you can get the banks to short it, right? Then they get to buy the material to, basically be part of missiles and rockets and
So you're saying
torpedoes.
that
And
they're working together?
I think they're working together. And there's a lot of research from the Silver Institute that shows that this has been going on since the Manhattan Project, for crying out loud.
Wow.
So people say, well, silver's manipulated. It's like, yes, it has been, but even with that, you've seen the price rise. It went from $11, 5, 6 years ago to $17 a few years ago to now it's at 31. I mean, that's still really amazing growth. Nobody's complaining about that. But imagine what it could be without manipulation, right? So when you look at the aggregate demand for silver, it's not people like you and me or your viewers that are investors in. That's 10% of the demand. 90% of the demand for silver is manufacturing, industrial, for solar, electric vehicles, batteries, military stuff, all of that. And to make all of these circuit boards for AI, right? So now I don't care how good of a manipulator you are. When supply runs out, your manipulation game ends. Why? Because Sony, Samsung, LG, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all these companies are going to need silver. It doesn't matter how you've manipulated the price. If they need it and they can't have a final finished product without it, they'll start offering $40 now. It's $80 now. It's $100 now. It doesn't matter because without it, they don't have a finished product. So this is where we're getting. And the reason I know this is if we look at the CME or the COMEX depositories, interesting thing has happened over the last week and a half.
Okay.
And that is the number of short futures contracts is coming down. And
What
the
what does that
amount of,
mean? What does that mean in
that
translation?
means banks are unwinding their short positions. They're getting rid of them. So that the let's just say last week there was 500,000 outstanding short positions. Now this week there's 400,000. I'm
And
not saying those
how
are the
does that
numbers.
what impact does that make for anybody who doesn't understand that?
So normally in any kind of a futures contract, whether it's in pork bellies or soybeans or silver, gold or whatever, nobody ever wants to settle with the actual commodity. They
Hmm.
sell it and they settle in cash. Because who wants to take a truckload full of pigs if you're shorting, pork bellies, right? It's like
Yeah.
you don't. You always settle in cash. It's been the same for gold and silver too. These investors and these hedge funds, they're settling in cash. But now that silver is running low, what this tells me that the flip side of those short contracts is probably just manufacturers. Sony, for example, saying, I think silver is going to go up. I'm going to do a futures contract to buy it at a futures price at X so they can stabilize their cash flow, right? But now they're requesting physical delivery. The reason I know is because silver in physical format at COMEX depositories, the inventories are diminishing rapidly, while the futures contracts the shorts are decreasing rapidly as well. That means they're unwinding their shorts at the banks. And what are they doing? They're not settling in cash. They're settling for physical delivery, shipping them somewhere.
Interesting.
That's why the inventories are coming down as well. So what does this tell us? This tells us that there's going to be a supply chain disruption, some kind of a supply crunch, and you could see prices go up rapidly. Now, there's a couple other things that we want to look at is from the investor side, and that is these futures contracts in silver, they roll over in March. That's the next
Okay.
contract date, meaning they all come due. So, what are they going to do when they come due? I would venture to guess that because it looks like it's manufacturers wanting physical delivery, that they're going to have to roll over those with physical delivery. Meaning, between now and then, February, I think the price of silver goes up a lot. Right now,
I never even thought about correlating it to the next dates on when contracts end. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, because normally when there hasn't been a supply shortage, and if you're just an investor, you're just settling in cash. You're taking the profit and you're walking away. But now that I think manufacturers are involved and the military complex and nuclear power and all the AI companies that need silver for their chips and flat screen TVs and everything else, the supply is coming down. Now, there was a story that came out 3 days ago from Scottsdale Mint.
Okay.
I think it was intended to come out, right? But I don't know. But here's what they said. They said there's a 3-month backlog of physical silver being delivered, and we can't get enough. I mean, it's literally a 3-month backlog. Well, normally things have to settle in like 72 hours, not 3 months, right? So there's this backlog of orders, which tells me the refineries aren't keeping up with the demand. So to me, I start to add all of these things together. And this is kind of what we've been talking about for the last year, right? When we get together and we talk about silver and the Scottsdale Mint person said retail investors have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. of supply going away and having a 3-month backlog. So I look at this and it's like, wow, Jason, we've been in the right place at the right time, allocating at lower prices because this is just economics 101. When you have low supply and high demand, the price goes up.
Yep.
Now, put this into a political landscape.
Yeah.
If China wants to dethrone the dollar as the king of the world, there's numerous ways to do it, which we address those. Either, you've got the BRICS currency, they're coming up with their own currency, common currency. They're going to back it with gold, take away demand from the US dollar. How do you erode the confidence in Americans to realize our government's been lying to us? We don't trust the economy. We don't think things are actually going so hot. Well, erode confidence in the banks. What if some of these aren't small or regional banks that have all these massive short positions in silver? They're big, massive banks,
Yeah.
right? So we could see them run out of money because this is very expensive. Well, if FDIC only has 1.17% of all deposits covered, you could get a run on the banks. People think, oh my word, my money is not safe anymore anywhere. Okay, you lose confidence in the banking system, you're losing confidence in your politicians. Now, if they can erode the stock market, which is what they just did yesterday by, I think, a concerted effort of 3 Chinese AI companies coming out within a 3-day period in December that nobody knew about these companies or these applications a week ago. It's like were these things just like created in secret? How does the world not know about these things? And yet they were released. Well, Glenn Beck did a video yesterday
Okay.
saying, don't trust this company, right? Because they were doing it's the number one downloaded app on the Apple Store right now is DeepSeek because it's free AI. Well, they were asking it questions and it would always talk about everything is China centric, right? And they're already not giving real information.
Oh my God.
Yeah, already, like on day one, right? So he was asking questions about what this company is going to do and what it's going to do to the AI industry, and it would say, well, we plan on being, big, whatever. It's like then the question was asked, well, who is we? It's the Chinese Communist Party. So it would answer truthfully, but then it would suppress. And when it would ask for a screenshot, Glenn Beck said the screenshots would disappear.
Oh my
Right?
God.
So they're suppressing information. So the point is, companies might love this technology because it's cheaper than what we've seen, but freedom-loving people who care about their privacy should not step foot in
Meaning
that right
it
now.
really, there is a price to pay. It's just a
There
different.
is a price to pay. So this landscape around us is changing so rapidly, like literally very rapidly. And now the rhetoric of tariffs is becoming more and more pronounced coming from Trump, right? So just yesterday he's speaking and he's talking about how the founding fathers had tariffs. We had tariffs. That's what funded our country for over 100 years until the IRS became a thing. And
Yeah.
Trump is basically now starting to use language like wanting to encourage Congress to get rid of the personal income tax. Now,
Did you hear about the External Revenue Service?
yes, I mean, what their new Secretary of Commerce talking about the External Revenue Service, it's like, that's genius, but it's not their idea. It was the founding fathers' idea, right?
Yeah.
They're just going back to what worked for well over 100 years and made America profitable. So now tariffs in conjunction with personal income taxes isn't going to have the best effect, right? Because tariffs will cause prices to go up on things that are being imported. And if people still have high taxes, it's going to amplify people's living at the margin problem. But what if you can get rid of taxes? People have a higher bottom line. They start spending when people are buying now American goods because they're cheaper than the foreign goods because they all have tariffs on. You're going to bring manufacturing jobs back to America. That means when we have manufacturing, we have jobs. When we have jobs, people are spending. When we have spending, all the markets go up. So Trump, I believe, has this amazing plan. Now, is Congress going to do it,
Let's
right? I mean, they have to get rid of the IRS. But I think if you implement tariffs, you get rid of the IRS, now we are a profitable nation again. And
That would be insane.
wouldn't that be just wild? I mean, I
Wild.
would love that. I would love it. I would love it if countries, this is how a tariff would work. A company or a country that wants to do business with wealthy America has to pay the tax to do business with us to get all of those sales. So they would actually fund our expansion, our growth, our entitlements, our debt ceiling, all of this stuff, rather than us as taxpayers. It's like if you want to do business with us, you got to pay the price. This is your cost of entry, a tariff.
I love it.
I mean, it's brilliant. Now, what would that do to the markets? What would that do to silver? Silver, because 90% of its demand is industrial demand, I think it would skyrocket much more than what it would have done under a Harris administration, which it would have gone up under Harris too because of flight for
But
quality. Everything else
it
would
would have
fall
also gone
apart.
up for the wrong reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would still go up, so would gold. See, under Trump's plan, I think silver does very, very well because it's a manufacturing industrial metal. It thrives in a growing economy. Gold might not do so well because gold is truly, it's not used for manufacturing hardly at all, but it's a barometer against political distrust.
Yeah,
You know, the worse things get, the better gold does as a flight for quality. So if Trump really starts to fix things well, gold might, I think it's still going to do well because central banks around the world are gobbling it up like it's Pez candy, right, to back up their currencies. But there's not the supply shortfall like we have with silver. This is where we can, and I want to ask everybody a quick question. It's like, will cryptocurrency go up? Yeah, I think that it will a lot. There's a lot of positive momentum behind it. Do you trust having something that's digital? Maybe you do, and that would be perfectly fine. But if you don't, then there's also another amazing option in physical, tangible assets that you take delivery of, like gold and silver, or store. See, this is where it starts to get really, really good. There's starting to be a couple choices emerge for people to get out of the dollar, get out of the system. It just depends on what's your risk profile. Do you like digital or do you not? Right? So I'm excited about what's coming, and we're starting to see it play out right underneath our nose.
it's awesome. It really is. It really is. Can you explain to people the couple minutes we have left where and how they can actually go about booking this consultation? I know there's a link in the description below, but what can people sort of expect that haven't had a consultation with you or your team yet regarding investing?
So one of two ways, you can go to the link that you have on this video and just fill out your information, and one of my schedulers will just call you back. Or you can just call us directly, 720-605-3900. Say that Jason sent you. And then what the process looks like is we're just going to ask you some questions. What was it that Kirk and Jason were talking about that you want to protect? What is it that caused you to reach out? You say, well, I have an IRA, I have money in the bank. I'm afraid my bank's going to fail. Whatever it is, then you'll meet with one of my consultants who will dig deep into your own personal situations. Like, what do you want to protect? How do you want to do it? What's your goals? What's going to give you peace of mind? And map out a strategy doing, and we do like everything, right? Other than filling out the form, right? The paperwork for an IRA rollover, we move the funds for you. We'll guide you, but that's just the beginning of the relationship. Once you're in silver or gold, that's not the end of our relationship. That's where it begins.
Where it
Because
begins.
then we'll walk you through this fragile economy, let you know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge, do whatever needs to be done, and we'll partner with you, so to speak, on that. Not that it's our money, it's yours, but our partnership goal is to equip you with all the information you need to make a good decision.
I love it. I love it. I could speak on firsthand experience on this one that that's exactly what Kirk and his team do. And that's why I encourage everybody to go along with that because it really does work. And we've done incredible things over the past couple of years, not just for ourselves, but also for other individuals that invested because of watching videos and interviews and podcasts like these. So, Kirk, I want to say thank you as usual for your time. And for everybody that's watching, make sure to book a free consultation if you haven't already with the link in the description below. Or Kirk, if you can give that number one more time for anybody who wants to call in.
You got it. 720-605-3900.
Beautiful. Just let them know that we sent you, that you watched this, and I look forward to hearing more incredible feedback from all the people that reach out to Kirk and his team because I only hear amazing experiences. So again, Kirk, thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you on the next segment.
It's my pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty.